Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Every Arkansan podcast. Today we've got my friend Bryan Stell with us. He's talking about fatherhood. It's an episode you don't want to miss. Well, Bryan, thank you so much for being here. We've been friends for a lot of years, and we actually even go back as far as to your wife would hang out at my house when I was very small with her friends who were my babysitters.
I forgot about that, yeah.
But thank you for being here.
I'm glad to be here. Dream Center is pretty important to me.
So, and you, needless to say, you actually worked for us for a season after the tornadoes of 2014 hit Faulkner County. You were kind of our chaplain in the field. So, family reunion.
Yeah. I miss the Dream Center crew.
Well, I'm glad you're here, but tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you from? How did you get here?
Well, I was a kid, grew up in church and church camp and all that, and it sounds kind of different, but I always kind of want to be a minister, pastor. That's kind of always, those guys were my heroes. But so I've had kind of a different journey. I'm a first-generation minister, and I've done a lot of different things in church work. So it's never seemed to follow some little path or whatever, so I've got to do a lot of things. And as I look back, I can see God guiding that, but as you're doing it, it just feels like one adventure after another, so, yeah.
Married?
Yes, married. I have 3 stepsons. 2 are 29 years old, and 1 is 19. So we're pretty much empty nesters. All 3 now live in Colorado. So,
okay.
Yeah, the last one just moved there in December, so.
So tell us a little bit about what you've been up to lately.
Yeah, well, we've become part of First NLR. It's a church here in North Little Rock near McCain Mall, and they've been so welcoming, so good to us, and gave me a job. So I actually work for a program that is a grant-funded fatherhood initiative program, and then it looks like sometime next month, Libby and I will begin to work with blended families. So that's something we're really passionate about, and at the core, I'm just a garden variety pastor-teacher, but I can get passionate about men's ministry or blended families or just marriage in general. I had a long stint at family life, and so I've gotten to do a lot of cool things. But right now we're working for this program, and it's been challenging because I work with really smart people, and the work is really something. I mean, there's a lot of detail working with anything that's connected to the government. A lot of paperwork is involved, but I'm enjoying doing some technical writing and a little bit of creative writing, and it's been fun. It's been fun.
And really, what does it mean to you, better dads?
Yeah.
Because I think it can go negative real quick, but I don't think that's the heart of it.
Yeah. Well, our program is a grant-funded program. It's only going to last a few months, but what's important about it, the name of it is Arkansas Better Dads. In a minute, I might read our little challenge that we wrote up. But I like it doesn't say perfect dads, because nobody's going to quite reach that standard. But better dads. You can be a better dad. You know, you may not just ring all the bells and be an award-winning something father of the year, but you can be a better dad. I like that. I like better. And so we're seeing that. So we get to challenge people okay, maybe you're a non-custodial dad. You pick your children up on the weekend. How about be on time? How about not just pick them up and drop them off at your mother's house or something, but pick them up and spend time with them, take them to a ball game, cook something with them, spend a little time. We're getting a lot of traction with that. We're seeing a lot of people kind of see their eyes open up. Hey, I can have a better impact on my children. Just to think a little, just to be a little intentional about what we do. So when I think of a friend of mine who is a single dad, has 5 children, and I think he is an exemplary dad. I see him just really sacrificing a lot of his life to spend time with them, take them out to see the horses, take them to play a ball game or go biking with 2 little boys that he has. And that's important, just giving an effort to be a better dad. I like that.
Just in talking, I think it's one of those things that so much of the time we feel inadequate as fathers. And with that inadequacy, I think it's super important for fathers to hang around fathers. Yeah. To encourage each other, but also to be in community. Mm-hmm. And I know that most of us men, we kind of hold each other at bay and we got this or whatever. Yeah. But talk to me a little bit about that.
I got to be part of a good men's ministry that had a little breakout session, a group of men, about 6 guys, And we are still in relationship years later. The group doesn't even meet anymore. The men's service made a cycle and stopped. But those guys, we still get together. We're still doing life together, still checking on each other. I think that's important. I guess generally men don't seek out friendships, real friendships, but it's important too. Somehow I caught that along the way. It's my dad actually who is really relational and kind of talk to a stranger, you know. Most people these days, sadly, don't really have a mom and a dad they're growing up with. I did have that, and I see the difference in that. I see how important that is. You can almost see in a young man especially a different confidence if he grew up with a dad. It's the same for men and women, but especially a boy. I can just see the confidence if he has a dad that's engaged with him. My parents are married almost 60 years, and all the studies say you don't have to be to affect your family and your children in a good way. You don't have to just be doing everything perfect, but somehow just being around is going to change all the statistics for a successful life, finishing school and moving forward and having a successful family of your own. My dad was like that. He worked all the time. I picked that up from him. I don't have a lot of hobbies. I don't kind of hunt, fish, and golf all the time because he didn't. We're affected by our dads and probably parent like they do. But my dad's a good guy and very warm and relational, kind of sentimental. I'm like him in all those ways. But he was around, and that's important. Guys can inspire in a group, can inspire each other to do that. But I mean, when they go home, if they would just maybe make sure the kids don't know that they don't come second and third to the ball game or their hobbies or their work, but they spend intentional time with them, make a plan to spend time with them. Yeah.
And I think that's even more important. And I know over the years, being a step parent has been something that's important to you.
Yeah.
And I think so many of the families that are out there anymore, they are a blended family.
Uh-huh.
And so talk to me a little bit about that role of the stepfather and how important it really is.
I think it can be very important. I didn't have natural children. That's part of my story. So when I got married, there was two pretty much grown young men. They were about 20, 21. So I immediately started off on kind of a friendship basis with them, and that's probably what it was going to be. And even they called me something different. They called me just Bryan. And the younger one couldn't figure out what to call me. Called me this, called me that. But he was about 10 and still inclined to sit in your lap, at that point. Now he is a 6'4", whatever, big grown man. But that was important. I took it very seriously. I was so glad I read some of Ron Deal. He has a ministry for blended families. I read some of his materials because that really helped. The dynamic, of a blended family is going to be different. You start out, you have the title, stepfather or something, but you don't have much relationship. You have to build that. And I think that's the same it's somewhat the same in just a regular family with the natural two parents. But a step parent, I think, has to try harder and be intentional and kind of accept that it's not going to be just like on TV. It's not going to be really kind of necessarily ideal. But the payoff, I think, comes later as you show consistency. You're there. You're doing what you say you're going to do. You show love. You show grace. A lot of times you just keep your mouth shut or whatever. There might be something you want to comment on. You better not. And just be gracious. Kind of let if you're a new step parent, I think it's important to step back a little. Kind of let the natural parent. If you're married to the natural parent and they're going to be the lead parent for a while. They're going to do more of the kind of hands-on parenting, and you sort of back them up. And as you grow the relationship, it just depends. As the children are younger and grow older, as you grow the relationship, then you have more of the kind of expected kind of father role. So.
And I think it even goes as far. We've got a lot of friends that are fostering.
Yeah.
And the importance of that father figure in that. Is super important as well, because so many of the children in the foster care, the reason they're there is they have no one, let alone a stable father in their life. And so just talk to me a little bit about stability.
Yeah.
What that means in relationships.
Yeah. My hat's off to people that foster and adopt. I think they're really going over and above. They really are heroes. And they're there. They're filling a role that really wasn't theirs to start with. But I think a lot of kids, I didn't just have a natural dad. I was blessed with a couple of granddads and then some men at my church, and they all were kind of like a fatherhood committee for me. And so I learned some from different things. I remember my little Florida grandpa. He was real silly. I picked that up. That's good or bad. Sorry, Libby. We talk about how I can be silly, but I get it from my granddad. But that man also prayed. And so his little house in Florida, it seriously had greasy spots on the corners of the house where at night in the morning early, he would have some coffee, have a prayer time, and go outside and pray around his house. And he'd go by and just touch the corners of his house and pray for it. He did it till there was a dirty spot on there. But, I mean, that had an impact on me. And then I learned financial stuff from my paternal grandfather, and then all kinds of things from my dad. My dad would say stuff like, you fail to plan, you plan to fail. I mean, those kind of things, they stick with you. And he was forever trying to teach me something. But yeah, I mean, you have a community of people. My home church pastor was there a long, long time, and is still there. But he came when I was about 12 years old and stayed about 40 years as the lead pastor. Well, you pick things up. You learn things from people. So you may not be the natural dad. You might even be a mom having to step in and do stuff a father would do. But my hat's off to you. Do the best you can. Kids are kind of resilient, and you just do your best, and you're going to have an impact.
And so let's kind of talk about what you guys have been doing with your Better Dad Challenge here. Mm-hmm. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. This is something that I came into the program just in the end of October, 1st of November, but they had this together. And so this organization, churches can use them, or schools or organizations or workplaces. But they, when they use the funding and have some kind of teaching class or an event, one thing we've had them do is to have the fathers sign the Arkansas Better Dad Challenge. So I'll just show you what that is. It just says, the Arkansas Better Dads, again, not perfect dads, but better dads. It says, I commit to, and you sign a little thing, read this and sign it, to lead my family spiritually, to be a positive role model for living a life of integrity, to be active, involved in my child's life, to love my child unconditionally, to teach self-control through appropriate grace-based discipline. That was well worded. Number 6, to show my child my love through words and actions, to take responsibility for my mistakes, and when necessary, ask for my child's forgiveness. Champion my child and his or her dreams by being their biggest encourager. And I'll say something more about that in a minute, but stay involved in my child's life no matter how old I am, and then challenge my child to grow in all areas of life. And what I was going to mention about that is, as your children are young, you're very much a coach. Do this, do that. And you might even set boundaries and all of that. But when they get grown, your role changes. You're not anymore. You have some grown kids, I know. Mm-hmm. So the role changes. They're not necessarily asking your opinion a lot. When they do, you jump on that and you give it. But
very carefully, though.
Yes, you choose your words carefully. But I think we grow into a role of cheerleader. And you hope they'll ask your advice. If they don't, then you're just there to champion them. You can also, if you're a person of faith, pray for them. But number 8, champion your child and his or her dreams by being their biggest encourager. I think that's important. Even now, you need people that encourage you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of us as men. It's one of our weakest areas a lot of times, because we get into that task mode. We get into, we've got to clean the yard, we've got to do this. And I know one of the largest arguments I ever had with now 20-year-old was, hey, Saturday morning we're going to rake the leaves. Saturday morning we're going to rake the leaves all week, and then Saturday morning comes and it's a blow off. I mean, she's furious, he's mad because I've got to rake the leaves and all of this, and it's like so much of the time we ask, but we don't thank, we don't encourage. Yeah. We do this, and we've got to remember that, I mean, we've got to invest in that bank before we're going to get anything out of it. Yeah. And unfortunately, we learn the hard way on a lot of that stuff. But encouragement is a huge thing. And I know that, I mean, with my pastor, that was one of the things that was so I loved about him, is he was just always so encouraging. And I'd never experienced a pastor that was like that, because usually growing up Baptist, it was like, you're messing up here, and you were messing up here, and you're messing up here. And it was like, then I got this pastor that was encouraging. I'm like, oh, it can be different. Yeah. It was just exciting to me.
Sure. We all need encouragers.
Yeah. So tell me, what's kind of the process with what you guys are doing? Because, I mean, I think a lot of times it doesn't have to be a program somewhere.
Right.
But can it be some of those things, like taking these basic steps? What's some of the process for helping dads implement some of these steps?
Sure. Well, we do have a website, arbetterdads.com, and you can go there and look at some of the materials we have. We're doing a little bit of writing. That's fun for me because I always dabbled in writing, but so we're putting some things out there that are just inspirational. The way the way the program has worked is that an organization like maybe a church or a school contacts us and say, this is what we want to do, and then we kind of start the paperwork process. And then part of what they do can be reimbursed, if it follows all the guidelines. But it can be really helpful. We have certain books that we can recommend. There are studies and teachings that can happen. Even if you've noticed in Arkansas lately, a lot of television ads and social media ads, even radio spots are all happening, talking about just the simple message. Be there for your kids. It matters. That's all coming from Arkansas Better Dads. That's actually one of our programs, and it's just to promote the fact that it's important to be a dad and to think about it, do the best you can. And so we're getting a lot of feedback from that. People appreciate that we're saying that. Well, we've seen in pop culture, the dad is always the buffoon. I guess that became okay at some point. Everybody is Homer Simpson, but no, there's a lot of good dads doing good work, and they're doing their best. We're not all just, the buffoon in the commercial or the TV show. So people are appreciating that. You may see some little ads come up, or maybe a little, just a quick video about a dad just spent some time with his children. Just simple things, but I think they add up. That's all part of that program.
Well, just from my personal experience, I am who I am because of how my father invested in me, and I was not a normal child. I tried to play baseball. I was not good at baseball. Not good at all. But when most kids were like, Dad, will you go throw the ball with me? I was like, hey, Dad, can you teach me how to read this financial stuff or whatever? And he just jumped in there, and he recognized me for who I was. I've got a brother that he's that outgoing person that just, that personality, never met a stranger. People would put him on their private plane and fly him to the Super Bowl or do stuff. In high school, how did you know this person? Well, I just met him. And I had another brother who was very studious and just like very down to the detail, always worried about grades and all that. And then I have a sister who's 13 years younger. All of us were different, and my father did an amazing job of seeing the uniqueness in every one of us and pouring into us in that unique way. And so it made all the difference in the world. In me, I am who I am today. I'm able to do this ministry. I'm able to understand certain things because of what he invested in me at such a young age.
Sure. So, when I meet a new guy, a new friend or whatever, I do like to meet their spouse. So that always tells me a lot about somebody, see who they married. But then it's fun if you ever get a chance to meet somebody's parents. Like when I was pastoring a church and somebody's parents visited, I always wanted to really have a chance to meet their parents, because you can learn so much about somebody just by meeting the home and the family they came from. Our parents, good or bad, they have a huge influence. Mm-hmm. Dads do.
So, I know that y'all are kind of transitioning with some of this, but the material is going to stay there. You gave us the website already. And then I think one of the other things is that at your church, which once again is North Little Rock First Assembly, there's some amazing programs for families just to get plugged in. And I know even outreach and other things, Randy Jumper there has done some amazing things just in those fields and all that, and we've partnered on some different things. But it's just a great church all around for that family, especially that North Little Rock area that are looking for a place to get plugged in.
Yeah.
So, is there anything else I'm missing on just talking about the church?
We are still a little new there, but I'm very impressed. There's a whole Hispanic, Spanish language church functioning inside the church. And I love that, and we're actually invited. I'm kind of wanting to work on my Spanish, so I may go sit in on that service. And I'm told they have a nice meal at the end once a month, so I'll probably take advantage of that. But, there's a deaf ministry there. There's a school of ministry where people are getting, seminary training. And let me think. There's a tremendous music program. They just do a lot. And I don't know how much they have done before with specifically blended families, but they're very excited about starting that. So we're having this conference with Ron Deal, and Libby and I will be helping lead. We don't even know if it's going to be a class or a service or what. We're going to figure that out as we go, but probably a good group of people, and then we'll break up in small groups because, that's great to do and study and get to know each other. But, they're just doing a lot, so we're tickled to be there and be part of it. Yeah.
Well, Bryan, thank you so much for just taking a little bit of time out of your day and coming sharing about what you guys are doing about the father issues going on in this state and in this country. So thank you so much for that. And thank you for always being a friend.
Yeah,
you're an
you're
amazing guy. I love you a lot. And you've always poured into me every time I've talked to you. You're a great encourager. So
Wow. I appreciate that. You're awesome.
thank you.
Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Every Arkansan podcast. Bryan Stell's passion for families, for fatherhood is amazing. And I hope he inspires all of you dads out there to go and make a difference.